Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Thoughts with Nick. It is absolutely beautiful outside today, so if you're lucky enough to be experiencing weather like me wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, take some time to get outside and enjoy it. Today's quote comes from Socrates, and what he had to say was, "No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable." Socrates is a well-known ancient philosopher whose thoughts and teachings have had a long-standing impact largely through his top disciple, Plato. In regard to fitness, I think his take is spot on, but I would make one adjustment, and that is to include women as well, rather than focusing exclusively on men. The human body is capable of miraculous feats, and depending on your interests and goals, there are a range of different directions you can go. A couple examples are running, resistance training, and calisthenics, but there's a whole host of other things too. I just think that those are the most common today. By consistently engaging in physical activity, you're providing a healthy outlet for your energy and performing a self-regulation of sorts. Physical activity is a great outlet for frustration and pent-up emotions because you can fully exert yourself until you have no more left to give. You can get those feelings out rather than letting them marinate and grow. You're also taking care of your body at the same time, ensuring that you can function properly as a human being, doing things like moving around, lifting objects, staying flexible, all that kind of stuff and more. I've used the gym as an analogy in a lot of my videos so far, but today I want to get right to the heart of it. For the sake of your health and peace of mind, you need to engage in some type of physical activity on a regular basis. You probably heard people talk before about how fitness is their escape and how training changed their lives. I have to admit, it all sounds pretty cliche, so I don't blame you if you tuned out. It can be kind of hard to take that stuff seriously, but there is a lot of truth to it. You just have to find the right outlet for you. I go to the gym pretty often, and I'm working on being a more consistent runner, but rather than speaking anecdotally in that cliche fashion I just mentioned, I want to support the claims that I'm going to put today with factual evidence. Today I'm going to talk about the benefits of running and resistance training, starting with running. Since the perception of fitness is mainly physical, I'm going to start on the physical side before flipping over to the mental benefits. The most well-known benefits that come from frequent moderate intensity running are improved heart health and functionality, which is also known as improved cardiovascular health. One of the key reasons here is because running is known to increase the flow of oxygen into the heart. Running has also been known to help prevent irregular heartbeats or heart arrhythmias, which can present in a variety of ways. Additionally, a 2015 study including over 50,000 individuals showed that compared to non-runners, runners had a 45% lower risk of cardiovascular disease. The aforementioned study also showed that runners had a 30% lower risk for all-cause mortality. All-cause mortality is any type of death, so cardiovascular disease is included here, but so is literally everything else. One aspect that I found especially interesting about this study was that it was consistent across all demographics. The study included both sexes, a range of ages from 18 to 100, smokers and non-smokers, and differences in many other characteristics, but despite the differences, the risk reduction remained. To me, this is a super compelling reason to run, because regardless of all other lifestyle factors, you're going to significantly reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease and all-cause mortality. Running can also reduce your resting heart rate, which is heavily related to cardiovascular health because it shows that your heart requires less beats to efficiently pump your body full of blood. After you build up some base endurance at a moderate intensity, you can build to a more high intensity running, which has even more benefits. One thing to mention though, high intensity running can cause cardiovascular events for some, so I think it's really crucial to work your way up before getting to this stage. But the main benefit of high intensity running that stands out to me is improvements in your VO2 max. VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen that your body can absorb during exercise and turn into ATP for energy. So the higher that number is, the more efficiently your body can deliver and utilize oxygen. VO2 max is insightful for doctors to determine heart and lung health, showing how important it can be as a biometric. VO2 max is also a key indicator for all-cause mortality as well. In addition to the clear physical benefits from running, there are demonstrable mental benefits as well. The most well-known is something you probably already heard of, and if you run, you're probably already familiar with it, and that's runner's high. Runner's high is frequently described as a feeling of euphoria, along with a reduction in stress and pain following physical activity, but as the name implies, it's most commonly associated with running. A 2024 NIH study validated that runner's high is in fact real, and it seems to be experienced more impactfully in older age groups, specifically those above 36. Aside from the more pronounced effect on older age groups, the effects were prevalent in both sexes, but women did report higher highs than men. An interesting detail here is that runner's high seems to be facilitated by endocannabinoids. I think more studies needed in this area, but the current research has shown notable increases in endocannabinoids post-run coinciding with the runner's high. I think it's an important detail to mention that correlation does not equal causation. Just because the endocannabinoids increase post-run does not mean that they're automatically responsible for runner's high. So further research will hopefully illuminate this relationship further, but I did not know about this connection before the research that I did for this video, so I wanted to make a note of it because I really found it fascinating. And aside from runner's high, there's plenty of other mental benefits related to running. A large-scale meta-analysis of over 15,000 papers shows a variety of benefits displayed by runners compared to a control group or a non-running group. It's hard to quantify the degree or amount of reduction in mental health on an individual level because there's no real way to objectively quantify them to begin with, but many of these studies utilize self-reporting questionnaires, so the individuals are commenting on the benefits they noticed during their experience rather than a doctor or a researcher attempting to document a change. So I think it's hard to say if self-reporting makes the results more or less credible, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to take the people at their word. So across the different studies, compared to the control groups of sedentary individuals, the runner respondents reported significantly less depression and anxiety in pretty much all the studies that were looking into this area. Additionally, runners reported less stress, better mental well-being, and improved mood compared to the control group. Just like with the studies regarding physical benefits, these studies covered a wide range of demographic and lifestyle differences, and the results remained consistent. Clearly, between the physical and mental benefits I just went through, running at even a leisurely pace is very beneficial, and I think it's worth maybe giving a try. To summarize, by running just with a moderate intensity, you drastically lower your risk for heart disease and all-cause mortality, irrespective of any other demographic or lifestyle factors. And by running at a high intensity, you can increase your VO2 max, which has been called the single most powerful marker for longevity. Running also shows significant mental health benefits, most notably reductions in depression and anxiety when compared to control groups, regardless of other lifestyle factors. Now I want to move on to resistance training. And once again, I'm going to start with the physical benefits. Resistance training can be done in a variety of ways. A common way is weightlifting, but it can also be done through bodyweight exercise, calisthenics, and many, many more. Looking into the current research on resistance training, a variety of benefits become obvious right away. Two of the most important physical benefits of resistance training are reversing muscle loss and increasing bone density. As we get older, we naturally begin to lose both muscle strength and muscle mass, and this can begin as early as in your 30s, but with each passing decade, the rate of reduction increases. Skeletal muscle mass has been known to be a great indicator of death, so this is definitely a bit concerning. The good news here is that you have the power to reverse this trend through resistance training. By continually resistance training, you can prevent muscle loss as you age by keeping your muscles in use, thus preventing them from deteriorating. Additionally, you can continue to grow your muscle mass rather than losing it. This is really important because, like I said, skeletal muscle mass is very indicative of death. So by maintaining that muscle mass, you're reducing your risk of death as you age. Increasing bone density is also crucial as you age. Osteoporosis is a condition in which bones become brittle, making them fragile and prone to breaking. The National Osteoporosis Foundation claims that 10 million Americans have osteoporosis, with 80% of those being women. This is likely because women begin losing bone density earlier. It's hard to pinpoint an exact year, but it's definitely clear that it starts earlier in women than men. Adults that do not strength train are estimated to lose between 1 and 3% bone density each year, and the National Osteoporosis Foundation also estimates that 30% of women and 15% of men will break a bone due to osteoporosis during their lifetime. This is especially problematic for older people, as bone density continues to decrease with age, and falls can easily trigger broken bones, which can be a catalyst for a downward spiral into death. A key example of this is hip fractures. Hip fractures are the worst potential outcome for osteoporosis, and over 25% of individuals 65 and older die within a year of a corrective operation. Once again, the good news is that you have the power to prevent this through resistance training. It's estimated that resistance training can reverse up to 1% of bone loss per year, which pretty much negates the loss that I mentioned a minute ago. The reversal is even more pronounced in women, however, where it can get up to 3%, which is great because they're the ones who are most affected by osteoporosis. In addition to the anti-aging benefits I just discussed, there's another anti-aging effect of resistance training, but this one has to do with your mitochondria. Mitochondria are often called the powerhouse of the cell. If you went to high school around the time I did, I'm sure you're very familiar with that term. But anyway, the mitochondria generates the ATP that I mentioned before, which our cells use for energy. And as we get older, similar to the muscle mass and bone density, our mitochondria begin to deteriorate, thus creating less ATP. Therefore, we have less energy. Circuit-based resistance training with short rest time has been shown to increase mitochondrial count, and studies have found that in older individuals, specifically those above 68, following a 6-month resistance training regimen, actually showed a reversal in their gene expression that led to mitochondrial function comparable to that of individuals in their early 20s. I find that fascinating and really striking, honestly. Anyway, well, I think this area needs further investigation. It really seems clear that there's an epigenetic relationship between resistance training and mitochondrial function. Just like running, in addition to the host of physical benefits, resistance training offers many mental benefits as well. The mental health benefits that come along with resistance training are pretty similar to the mental health benefits of running. Resistance training has been shown to reduce anxiety and depression, especially in seniors. Studies on 80-plus-year-old individuals showed that just 10 weeks of resistance training 3 times a week took more than 80% of the sample size out of clinical depression. This is really compelling, especially for the older demographic, because it displays the immense potential of resistance training to improve the mental state. Resistance training can also improve self-image in certain demographics as well. Unlike some of the other improvements, this does not seem to be ubiquitous, as self-image is apparently less susceptible to fluctuations, but it is a positive outcome nonetheless. Some of the best mental health benefits of resistance training come from the alleviation of pain from things like arthritis and osteoporosis. Eliminating or reducing the pain level has a major impact on the mental state of those affected. Another interesting advantage that I found was improvements in cognition. Like many of the other benefits, this was mainly observed in the older demographics, as reduction in memory and cognition are another part of the aging process. To summarize, resistance training has major anti-aging properties, both physically and mentally. As you age, you lose muscle mass and muscle strength, as well as bone density. Resistance training can reduce and prevent both these issues. Additionally, mental function begins to deteriorate with age, and this can also be mitigated or slowed by resistance training. And finally, resistance training reduces anxiety and depression and can improve self-image. Now that I've gone into detail on running and resistance training, I want to detail some of the benefits of exercise in general. As I mentioned, most of the mental health benefits overlap between running and resistance training, showing that exercise in general is very important to improving your mental state. Exercise can certainly be considered a medicine, especially in my opinion, but I'm not a doctor, so take that with a grain of salt. But anyway, recent studies have shown exercise to be a more effective treatment of mild to moderate depression than and anxiety, not just depression, mild to moderate depression and anxiety, than antidepressants and cognitive behavior therapy. These findings are not anecdotal either, as they come from meta-analysis of many randomized controlled trials, which are basically the highest level of our current scientific ideals. It's like the gold standard, so to speak, of studies. I'm not saying here to stop taking your medication or cancel your therapy appointments or anything like that. I'm just saying that exercise is a relatively easy alternative that you can pursue, which provides you with a little more control. I want to be clear, there's no judgment here. I don't care if you take medication. I don't care if you go to therapy. The most important thing is that you feel better in your daily life. And if those things are what helps you, then it's good that you're doing better. I just want to share that exercise is certainly an option here as well. And from a biological perspective, I also feel like exercise as medicine just makes sense. Moving around and getting active is really as natural as it gets. And we often spend our days sedentary, which is really totally unnatural, and to me can explain a lot of the anxiety that people experience. You aren't getting active, so you're living in your head, creating scenarios to worry about. Getting out and getting active will force you into the physical world, allowing you to escape from your self-imposed state as a prisoner of your own mind. There are also plenty of physical benefits that come from both type of exercise, with the most important and most compelling being reductions in body fat, which prevent type 2 diabetes. There's a strong relationship between body fat and type 2 diabetes, so the reduction in body fat in general helps prevent against type 2 diabetes. Since gaining weight is more diet related than exercise related, I see exercise as a means to prevent weight gain and increase of body fat rather than the sole path to weight loss. That being said, obesity and type 2 diabetes both drastically raise the risk of all-cause mortality, meaning that it is a factor for a wide variety of things. So the ability to exercise and reduce the likelihood of becoming obese is really important. Obesity also really reduces your quality of life because it can be a lot more difficult to get around and do the things that you want to do. And basically, participating in life becomes much more challenging when you're obese. This reduced quality of life can lead to poor mental health, which kind of initiates a vicious feedback loop. Suffice to say, all the bad outcomes, both physical and mental, can be avoided or at minimum reduced through exercise. There's also a strong relationship between inactivity and dementia. Dementia is another age-related condition in which the mental faculties and cognition decrease over time. I'm sure most, if not all of you, have had someone in your life affected by dementia. It's really pretty common today, and it's really incredibly sad to watch as someone that you know and love continues to get progressively worse and start to not recognize you, and all the other sad kind of stuff that goes along with that. It's really upsetting to see. And dementia is known to be closely linked to muscle mass and low physical activity, once again really proving the case for exercise. By maintaining muscle mass and a general level of fitness as you age, you're doing what you can do to prevent dementia. To summarize here, exercise has a multitude of benefits, both physical and mental, preventing obesity and type 2 diabetes, improving your mental state, and reducing the risk of dementia are just a few, the ones that I found extremely compelling, the ones that I thought really made my case for why you should try and exercise on a daily basis. These factors, they're going to improve your quality of life and increase your longevity, meaning that not only will you live better, but you're also going to live longer. The idea of exercise as a medicine seems to be gaining traction nowadays, but not as much as I think it should be. The evidence that I shared in this video is just a small fraction of a bigger picture of the wide range of benefits. This is just the ones, like I said, that I found to be the most convincing. By getting active, whether it's running or resistance training, literally any other form of exercise, anything that appeals to you, you're taking your health into your own hands, both physical and mental. Just like a lot of the other topics I talked about, this is really proving to yourself how much you care about yourself. By actively intervening and making your health a priority, you have the ability to change your life and potentially save your life by preventing a negative health outcome before it occurs. If you want more information on the topics and the studies that I talked about today, or if you don't believe my claims, I'm including the links to the studies and the other sources I used in the description for the video. So please feel free to investigate further on your own. Do your own research. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I could be misinterpreting things. I Personally, don't think that's the case here, but I could always be wrong. So I'm linking those studies and other resources down below. So please feel free to check them out and read more in detail and in depth on your own, because there's a lot more nuance and a lot more detail to what I discussed today. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.